This is my fifth part of this little story about Pier Road and a so-called gas explosion that occurred, killing I think 9 to 10 people. With respects to all souls, as many as it was. This is their site, just above the site where it occurred. It was just down there. We'll take a walk down there in a minute. This is the area around Jersey Harbour. There's the hill behind us. We'll do a 360. There's your standard driving area. South Hill Gym. Come around to the pyramid on top of the fort. So anybody knows Fort Regent? We've got Fort Regent over here. But back to the ceremonial site here. Notice how many blocks there are. 9.5. It's relevant in numerology, but let's just keep this very simple, folks. Let's take a walk. We're going to take a walk down here. We don't usually follow the right paths, so we're just going to click straight over here to the site. Let's just focus on that beautiful tree right over there, because that's the tree that is above the site. Now notice that tree is in full foliage. Those trees down there, they're in full foliage. Nothing wrong with these trees. They've got leaves and everything. Yes, folks, this site was blown up. I say blown up, there was no gas explosion. It was blown up. It was demolished either by a direct energy weapon, or it was demolished by implosion, demolition, or both. Now this is the site. Look carefully, take your time. We're looking down from the wall above. Let me show you where we are with relevance. Those are the back of those trees I just showed you. And we're at what we call Fort Regent, which is right there, Fort Regent. So we know where we are. Just up this hill is Fort Regent. So we're just going to pan around and we get the site. So this is the top wall and this is Pier Road going down to town. This is, or maybe not Pier Road, maybe perhaps that is called Pier Road, the lower road which I'm focusing on now. So this is the lower road which has been closed up until now. Absolutely sealed off for 1 whole year, this site, by G4S, an Israeli security company working hand in hand with the government's Israeli connections. Keeping in mind the government recently bought the top military technology from Israel to install in Jersey as 5G top technology. So here we are at the harbour, as you can see. This is the view over Elizabeth Castle, the harbour, in where you could have, if you were an elite, and we'll come to this in a minute, perhaps a gin palace. Right, and this is the site we are looking at. Now folks, please recognize that quadrant which we are focusing in on now was demolished afterwards. This quadrant was demolished afterwards. Both those buildings withstood the blast completely and utterly, with a few tiles damaged and some glass obviously. But this is the area we want to focus on. This is where the building was that was, I say quite clearly, imploded or destroyed by a direct energy weapon, a laser, but definitely not by a gas explosion which causes a fireball. Every gas is a fuel. Propane, butane, methane, whatever gas it is, it's a fuel. And gas burns. So if you had a gas explosion, whenever you look at a gas explosion, you see gas burning, a massive fireball. In this case, the fireball was supposedly so large it caused a sonic boom on the Richter scale. On the only CCTV footage which exists of this explosion, which comes from that cafe across there, known as Quayside Cafe, from where I took the last video towards this direction, exactly 180 degrees the other way. Now folks, what I want to show you is the proof, and the proof is in the pudding. One, the gas pipes are supposedly, there was no gas to this building, it was taken away many years ago, but the gas pipes supposedly to the rest of town ran under this building and caused a massive explosion, which means there should be a crater in the ground, which there isn't, and it hasn't been filled in. I have many videos and footage of this over the past year, which shows the rubble in place, and when the rubble was removed there was no hole. I got the last removal of the rubble on video and there's no hole. There's no gas explosion, there's no hole, and there's no massive fireball. Where's the proof? Look folks, look at the foliage. Yes, this was 1 year ago. Down there, that looks like a year-old little tree. All of these trees look perfectly fine. Look carefully at the foliage. This tree, those big trees that I started you off on saying, notice the trees and the foliage. Notice all the trees and the foliage, the little trees, the little grass, the little shrubs. Perhaps on the edge of the tree I'm going to zoom in on now, you may have had a singeing. Perhaps it just lost its leaves in autumn. Folks, do you see any black burn marks on the tree trunks of the elderly trees? Does this silver birch look like it had damage? Does it look like it's burnt? Does that tree look like it's burnt? Does that tree look like it was burnt? Let's go down the back here. Let's zoom out. Does anything look like it was burnt? Does this tree look like it was burnt? Let's get a close up. Does the tree look like it was burnt? I see it blossoming. If you look carefully on the ends, there's white blossoms. It's autumn. They should come in spring. We won't talk about geoengineering right now, but ladies and gentlemen, what happened on this site? Because in the footage from Quayside Cafe over there, the only footage that exists of this explosion, there are two super large white bright flashes seen, not a fireball. Once the flashes disappear, then ignition is noted and fireballs behind of a much smaller scale. But it's clearly obvious something ignited the fires that burnt the materials secondarily in this fire. What ignited the fire? What started the fire? Was it an explosion of a demolition style? Did somebody demolish this building? Because it fell down, by the words of the Chief of Police, Robin Smith, it fell down like a demolition, pancake style, floor for floor and roof on top, by his own words, on an interview we have. Who demolished this building and why? Did they use a direct energy weapon from an aircraft or a ship out there at sea, testing the new Israeli technology, which perhaps Jersey government has purchased? Maybe that was the sonic boom. DEWs create sonic booms. Or was this a demolition? Did somebody rig the building and bring it down? Because I can tell you, it wasn't a gas explosion. And people are about to be punished as though they are criminals for not doing their jobs properly in the gas board due to a gas explosion that never existed. I think the Jersey people and especially the people who suffered here and their families, need proof, utter proof of how an explosion can exist and look like a bright white light instead of a massive burning fireball when it's told to be gas, propane, butane, methane, doesn't matter what gas. It's fuel and it burns. Like when you light your lighter, the gas burns in a flame. Well, when you light any gas, it burns in a flame. If a tanker of gas explodes, it burns in a massive fireball, like on my previous videos. When something is struck with a direct energy weapon or exploded with explosives, it makes a big white light flash, not a gas fuel ball. No fuel is burning in an explosion, demolition, or direct energy weapon strike. In this case, no fuel burnt. Ask questions, ask the right questions, look for the truth, seek justice for the people here who suffered and died under what may be the pretense of murder.